Today, we're digging into a really profound Buddhist teaching, one that kind of flips a common meditation goal on its head. We often think the whole point is to find peace. But what if that incredible feeling of calm isn't the final destination? What if it's actually the launch pad for something much, much bigger? True, lasting liberation. So let's just start with this one big question. For so many of us, the reason we sit down to meditate is to just get a moment of quiet, right? A little break from all the noise. But what if that very peace, as wonderful as it is, was just the first step of the journey and not the end of the road? So here's the roadmap for this explainer. First, we're going to define the real goal, which is this idea of ultimate wholesomeness. Then we'll see how you get to a state of tranquility. After that, we hit the big twist, how that peace can become a beautiful trap. Then we'll talk about the pivot, the crucial move you have to make toward true insight. And finally, we'll see how that one move breaks the very last chains that hold us back. Okay, let's start at the beginning. What are we actually trying to do here? What is the real goal of this practice? Because it's so much more than just feeling good or a little bit more relaxed. The word for this ultimate goal is kusala. It's a term from Pali, the language of the early Buddhist texts. It means wholesomeness, or maybe even better, a skillful state of mind. This isn't just about feeling peaceful. It's about developing a mind that's incredibly clear, capable, and just fundamentally skillful. You can almost think of it as achieving peak mental fitness. This is our true north. So how do we build this super skillful, wholesome mind? Well, according to this teaching, the path is surprisingly direct. It's forged through one single foundational practice, anapanasati. And that's just a fancy word for being mindful of your own breath. That's it. That's the key that unlocks this whole process. Okay, so what happens when you actually walk this path? When you practice being mindful of your breath day in and day out? Well, something pretty remarkable starts to happen. Your mind, which is usually all over the place, it begins to settle. And that leads you directly to a state of really deep, unshakable calm. And this state of profound tranquility has a name. It's called samatha. It's that moment when all the mental chatter just fades away and the mind becomes completely still. Now, this is so important. This isn't just a nice little bonus. The Buddha is said to have called this state the direct path to nibbana, to total spiritual liberation. And the process itself is just beautifully simple. You start by just focusing on your breath. That's step one. And as you keep your attention there, the usual mental noise just starts to quiet down. The mind becomes still. And then right out of that stillness, this state of deep calm, samatha, it just naturally arises. It's a direct result of the practice. And where does this path lead? I mean, this is the really wild part. We're not just talking about feeling a little less stressed out. The path of samatha is said to lead to total liberation. It points towards these incredible concepts called the deathless and the unconditioned, ideas that point to a state of being completely free from the normal cycles of suffering and existence. It's the ultimate kind of freedom. Okay, so you've done the work, you've followed the path, and you've arrived at this incredible state of peace. And this is where most people would say, great, I'm done. But this is the critical turning point of the entire teaching, because this beautiful state, well, it can become a kind of golden cage. I want you to imagine you're hiking up a huge mountain. After a long climb, you get to this scenic overlook, and the view is just breathtaking. It's peaceful, it's beautiful, and you feel this huge sense of accomplishment. It's so tempting to just put down your bag, set up camp, and stay right there, thinking you've already reached the summit. Well, reaching samatha is exactly like that. And this brings us to a really radical warning from the source, which you see here in Thai. When you get to this incredible state of peace, the instruction is shocking. It says, do not delight in it, praise it, or be attached to it. Just think about that for a second. The very thing you worked so hard to get, you're now being told not to cling to. Why on earth would that be? Because the peace isn't the goal. The peace is the tool. This is the moment where you learn to use that incredibly clear and stable mind, not as a place to just hang out and relax, but as a powerful lens to see reality with perfect, undistorted clarity. So you're at that scenic overlook, and there's a fork in the road. Path one is to cling to that feeling of calm. If you do that, sure, you get some temporary peace, but you're just reinforcing the old habit of attachment. Path two, though, is to use that calm state to observe its own nature. And that path, that's the one that leads to lasting liberation because it destroys attachment right at the root. And there's a word for this critical pivot. It's nisarana, a Pali term that translates to the escape. But what are you escaping from? You're escaping from that beautiful prison, from the trap of the scenic overlook. You're learning to let go of your attachment to even the most wholesome, wonderful feeling you've ever had. It's the wisdom of knowing when to keep climbing. So here it is. This is the absolute key to the whole teaching. With that perfectly still mind you've developed, you turn your attention around and you look at this stillness itself. And when you really look, you realize, oh, this is just another temporary state. It arose and it will eventually pass away. Seeing its impermanence, that right there, that's the insight that unlocks absolutely everything. And when that insight really dawns on you, the results are completely transformational. This isn't just some neat philosophical idea. It has profound, practical effects on the very structure of your mind. This one act, seeing tranquility clearly without grabbing onto it, is what shatters what the teachings call the higher fetters. You can think of these fetters as the deepest, most subtle, most ingrained mental habits we have, the ones that keep us stuck in these cycles of stress and dissatisfaction, what's sometimes called samsara. And the teaching is super specific about which chains get broken. It's things like that deep, subtle craving to just be something, to continue existing. It's that mental habit of always looking for the next thing, creating a new identity, a new situation, and then getting all attached to it and starting the whole cycle over again. This practice doesn't just help you manage those patterns, it cuts the engine that drives the whole thing. So by learning not to cling even to the most pleasant state of peace, you stop creating the causes and conditions for your own future suffering. You're no longer just trying to manage your experience day to day. You're fundamentally changing the very mechanism that produces it. You're not just resting at the overlook anymore. You've found the true summit, the real exit. And all of this leaves us with a really powerful question to reflect on for ourselves. When we sit down to meditate, what are we actually doing? Are we just trying to build a more comfortable, more peaceful prison of attachment? Or are we forging the key that will unlock the door to true and lasting freedom? The choice, as it turns out, is all about how we relate to the peace that we find.